Welcome all. I'm joined today by businessman, philanthropist, and co-founder of the Aurora Prize and the Future Armenian Initiative, Mr. Ruben Vardanyan. We'll be discussing issues related to the diaspora and what the impact of the Russian invasion of Ukraine could be on Armenia. So, Mr. Vardanyan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, in a lot of the initiatives you are backing, there is a great deal of focus put on the diaspora. I was recently in Georgia and I found it interesting how Georgians were mentioning that Armenia has the asset of a big diaspora, whilst Georgia doesn't really have that. I'm wondering how you would describe Armenia-diaspora relations in 2022 and what could possibly change in the future in your mind?
It's one of the most important subjects in my view, talking about the Armenian world. We had a lot of myths, we had a lot of illusions, and we had a lot of unknown pages of history of diaspora. And when we're saying word diaspora, I think it's creating big confusion because it's not homogeneous. The same people who left Armenia when been born in Armenia or their parents went out from Armenia. For example, for people who are living in Iran, saying that they're diaspora or spur will be saying is insane. I'm living in my homeland thousands of years. I cannot be diaspora because it's my home, where I've been born by 10 or 15 generations, and the same was in Syria. And we have other story, of course, when people left like Soviet Union and they went to Glendale and they're living the Soviet Union life and nothing changed. And you can see in Spurk or diaspora, very different groups of people. People who are involved in the Armenian world, people who don't involved in the Armenian world, people who speak Western Armenian, Eastern Armenian, people who feel they have a connection to Armenia because it's their homeland, or because of their just emotional connection to some place that Armenia is a one country. So I say it's very important when you talk about diaspora, define very clearly which group of people we're talking, because it's a really big difference between different groups, and I think you cannot name one name to all these groups.
I mean, it's not a homogeneous entity nor a monolith. I mean, even if you take Los Angeles, for example, you have Armenians that moved even before the Armenian genocide. And then you have groups that came from Iran in the 80s and Armenia in the 90s. How would you approach this? How would you even define the word diaspora?
We're doing surveys, and I know also Gulbenkian Foundation did a good surveys with Han Chiligaryan was leading this project. We did a survey in Krasnodar, not from Glendale. Don't talk about Glendale, it's too far. Let's talk about Krasnodar, just closer to Armenia. What we found was fascinating. We have 4 Armenian diasporas which don't talk to each other. Armenians from Amshen, Armenian from Karabakh Sea, Armenian who left in the Soviet time or after Soviet Union collapse, and Armenian who been living in Krasnodar already hundreds of years. And surprisingly, what we found is communities not communicate to each other. The same like in Glendale. When I'm coming to Glendale to see my classmate, and I'm talking to them, I'm saying I'm going to see somebody from non-post-Soviet Union, post-Soviet Armenians, they've been surprised, they're very surprised to how I know these people. Unfortunately, it's in one hand, we're very proud saying we are a global nation. We're living worldwide, and it really is true. In future Armenia, we got Armenians sign off from 108 countries. Can you imagine? Not only Armenians live in 108 countries, but some of them interesting what's happening in Armenia, and they spend their time to sign off for future Armenian. At the same time, it's a very isolated groups which do not communicate to each other. That's why I think it's critical what's happening now in our discussion about future of Armenian, to define clearly how this group exists, how they communicate, and what unify them, and how we can build the bridges between different groups, because different mentality, different behavior. And by the way, when you're coming to Armenia from different airlines, you can see the difference between the Lebanese Armenian, French Armenians, Russian Armenians, or American Armenians behave differently. They have a different way how they communicate, different way how they position themselves as being Armenians. So it's an interesting, unique advantage which we have, and also disadvantage because we don't understand very well the deepness of these differences.
I mean, that's the interesting thing about the initiative, is the recognition of that diversity being a key point. You've also spent a great deal of time in Russia and are no stranger to Russian society. With regards to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, we have 2 countries with big diaspora communities, both in Russia and in Ukraine. Many diasporans from both countries are now heading to Armenia. I'm wondering what you think about this subject.
You know, I mean, it's a very important question you're asking, and I think it's very important to answer. It's a little bit maybe longer, like normal. First, if you will ask Armenians who live in Donetsk, and we have Armenians who live in Donetsk, is a Russian invasion or Russian saving them? You will get a different answer. You go ask Crimea Armenians who've been living in Crimea hundreds of years. We all know about Ivazovsky and others been living in Crimea before it became part of Ukraine. They have a different view. You go to Kharkov or Kiev, Armenians will have a different view, which means, unfortunately, it's a very complicated story and very complicated from different angles how people see what's happening in this region. And as I say, we need to be careful to not hurt anyone, because it's one of the challenges that we are facing. It's a world going very extreme, black and white, and saying you're on our side or you're against us, and no other option. One of my good friends said very good things that I like a lot. He said, you know, if I have a different opinion, it doesn't mean I'm an idiot or I'm a traitor. I just have a different view, a different opinion, which we need to understand of the situation going with the extreme invasion, special operation, division, which people are using which wording and saying you which side you are. It's going nowhere, because we are going, in this case, in the Third World War, because sooner or later this will extreme hatiness will create more and more hatiness, and will end up with a war which will not be stopped, in my view. You know, I remember one of the people that I admired, Mother Teresa. She said very interesting one. She was asked to join the march against the war. She said, no, I will not join the march against the war. But if you do the march for peace, I will join. And I think it's one is important element, this hatiness and creating this type of from both sides, you're Nazis or you're anti-Russian, and then you cannot read anymore Dostoevsky, or you cannot be with us if you're not saying how bad is Putin, is a road to nowhere, in my view. In my view, also for Armenians especially, because, you know, we've been in a crossroad between the fourth civilization. We have our own horrible story with Artsakh war, when we saw how people's reaction was indifferent or double standards about what's happening in Artsakh war. We can see the world is ignoring Yemen and Saudi Arabia conflict and other conflicts. We can see what people in general living in a double standard. In my view, we have a serious existential crisis, which will hurt Armenia also, and Armenian people living in different parts of the world, including Russia and Ukraine, significantly, if we will not find a way how we can stop this as soon as possible. And also, if we cannot find a way to think how we will live after. In the end, one day the war will stop. What will be next? Because one of the things which we did in Armenia, by the way, in our school, United World College Dilijan, what we did, we invite kids from Turkey to come to stay in Armenia. We had the kids from Ukraine, after Crimea, and from Crimea, from Russia, to come and study together. Because in the end, we have two options. One option, we're doing nothing, and it's hate is growing and growing and growing, and it's the end of the world. Second, we're finding the way, together with the head of the countries, together with the international organization, together with people's movement, and I would say, I'm a strong believer the moral authorities will become very important in this day, saying stop the war as soon as possible. Find the peace and find a way how we can live after this and not keep this replication of the hatiness. Otherwise, it'll be nowhere. We're going nowhere. That's why, in my view, United World College, Dilijan, Aurora, it's all about one thing: how to bring human values, how to bring common ground, to find a way how people from different views can talk to each other and not kill to each other.
And I mean, at the same time, there are some opportunities which are arising. A lot of Armenians from Russia, a lot of Armenians from Ukraine are now coming to Armenia, and even Russians and Ukrainians, Belarusians are moving to Armenia. Even Russia-based companies have plans, some of them, to relocate to Armenia. In the past, we've had diasporan communities from Syria seek safe haven in Armenia, from Lebanon, from Iran, from Iraq, and other countries. What do you think? What have you been hearing? Do you think Armenia, in a sense, welcoming these communities could actually enrich itself?
I'm a strong believer of the bridges I've been always advocate for building the bridges, because the only when you can meet person, you can understand what is you find in common. That's why, first of all, I'm very favorable that Armenia can play very important this bridge for the West to Russia, for Russia to West. And I hope Armenian government and Armenian society can find a way to communicate this clearly, because just staying passive will go nowhere. Or sooner or later we'll go under sanctions with Russia. I'm sure about this. If we will do just transit, like happened with Syrian Armenia, with people who come and leave Armenia, it will be stopped by both sides, because Russians feel it's very bad with the Russians coming to Armenia and going to other countries. West will stop because they will see some money flow and other elements which we do not like. So in my view, the only way Armenia can benefit from this, if Armenian society and Armenian private and public together will clearly define the mechanism, saying, guys, we welcome you to Armenia. First, we will organize everything but you have a normal life here, but you need to open businesses here, you need to create the jobs, you need to respect our traditions and our values. We will help you to organize your life by education, by culture, by religion. Many thousands of Russians now having very small Russian church. We don't have a Jewish synagogue. We have a lot of, there will be marriage happening. Again, many women don't speak one word in Armenian. They need to learn very quickly Armenian. They need to learn how to behave in Armenian traditions, not by Russian traditions or Belarusian traditions. So we have a lot of challenges, but also I think it's a great opportunity. We can convince 50 top international companies to open their headquarters now, covering the Eurasian Union in Armenia. It will be a great opportunity to position Armenia better in the world, to create more security, create more revenue, more jobs. This is why I believe staying silent and doing nothing will lose this momentum. Just becoming transit and making quickly money just because people come and leave, it will be dangerous and one will be stopped very soon. That we will be smart and wise, and we really will deliver the right message saying, guys, doesn't matter, in the Soviet Union time or Iran, you always have some countries who can be operating between country who is under sanctions and with the other part of the world. We need to define the right rules. We need to define where is the red lines which we don't need to cross from both sides with people be accepting. But we need to behave and do this as much as possible by offering ourselves, first of all, with service and with opportunity for everyone, which I think will be a great opportunity for us.
And my final question is that there is a high level of integration between the Armenian and Russian economies. Many Armenian companies export to the Russian market, for example. So what do you think about the economic risks for Armenia? You've already mentioned a bit about the risks. Can you expand a bit on that, please?
Yeah. No, we have a couple of very serious challenges. First challenge, for example, how Armenians who every year in the spring going to work in construction industry in Russia will go there, and how we will transfer money to Armenia back. We got around $1 billion annually coming to Armenia. Second, very critical, export-import. We have an issue about, we depending a lot from food, delivering food, importing the food for Armenia. We have issues about oil and gas and many other things. The gas prices went up 3,000. Can you imagine Russia will say, you know, guys, sorry, we need to raise the price a little bit for you. Just only 20% or 50%. What will happen for us, with us? We have issue with the dram, how stable dram, what will be dram, dollar, ruble exchange, and all these issues. We have an issue about, now on the other hand, the rubles, all communities become very cheap. If you can bring to Armenia and do some add value and sell like your own, you can make a lot of profit. At the same time, you can really create now a technology cluster here. You can do Silicon Valley, just providing, if you will say, tax benefit for Russian technology guys, saying, guys, don't leave Armenia, stay here, don't pay next 3 years tax, do some special quick procedure to get the Armenian passport, but you pay investment, you do some investment to real estate. It can create unbelievable opportunities, but at the same time, of course, creating some issues about the transfer of money, transfer of the workforce, transfer of the products, also delivering. Also, don't forget the price of oil going up. I mean, and this is very huge additional revenue for Azerbaijan, who are getting at least to now, if you look at the price, it's tens of billions of dollars, and how one will spend, we all know. This is why it's becoming also an issue about the security, which is very important. That's why one thing I want to say in the end of our conversation, I don't understand why our society, and I'm talking now like Armenian citizen, why we are not talking about all this, why we're not discussing, why we don't have a working group, why we're private and public people coming together and say, okay, who will do what? How will organize the life of people who move to Armenia from private sector? How will be messaging in the Russia and the West from government, from diplomatic channels, but this is normal, don't worry, we'll do as under normal thing. How we do media, how we'll do all legal changes. And this all needs to be done quick, very professional, and in very consistent way. Otherwise, we'll have a nightmare, which will create again one more crisis for us. And we will not only not benefit from this situation, become really Finland for Russia and bridge to Europe, but will become one of the, again, economic crisis situation which we will face very soon.
Well, insightful as always. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Vardanyan.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on CivilNet.